So welcome back to our discussion about toxicology in art products. So this is part two. In this module, we'll be talking about how to avoid toxic products. And the first step in trying to avoid toxic products is trying to figure out if what you're looking at is a toxic product. How do you know whether or not you're using a toxic compound? So if I look at this blue powder on this screen here, there's nothing about the color blue that lets me know that something's toxic. I need to know more information about it. And one very helpful way to learn more about a product is to actually read the label on the container before you purchase it to determine whether or not it contains something to watch out for. In this label we see here, we see the word danger. Danger is the highest level of warning. Danger and poison are ones that you really want to watch out for. The next level down from that is the word warning. So if you see danger, you really want to read the label. In this case, we see that it's extremely flammable, the vapors can cause a flash fire, it's harmful, and it's starting to talk about affecting your central nervous system. All of these things are warnings that precautions should be taken to protect yourself against the things that you're being warned about here. In 1988, an act was passed by Congress called the Labeling of Hazardous Art Materials Act. And in this, it requires all manufacturers of art materials, only art materials, to list all potentially hazardous substances that are in paint products, and also to put some kind of warning on there letting you know that something toxic is in there. It still allows trade secrets that allows manufacturers to potentially withhold some important information from the consumer. An example of that is if there's less than 1% formaldehyde, it may not be listed on the label. They may just call it a trade secret, even though under 1% formaldehyde can still be harmful. So here's an example of a product that I found at one of the ceramic studios I was at. It's Sax's True Flow Color Burst Glaze, opaque black iris, number 451532. The only difference between the two bottles is one of them says the word non-toxic glaze on it. Same product number, same name, same company. Are they the same product? Well, when I look a little more closely at the label, I not only see the word non-toxic, but there's some weird little circle type things on there. Let's look at those. When we look at it more closely, we'll see that there's a little health caution warning on there, and the word warning contains lead, soluble lead, and it contains cadmium. Lead can produce cancer, so can cadmium. So this chemical content is certainly not non-toxic. So the difference between the two bottles we saw is the one that's labeled non-toxic is the new version of the product where they've eliminated the lead and cadmium. And the other one, which looks exactly the same, is the old version. So that health caution label is really our major warning that something's different here and that we should take care to see what's inside this product. So what you want to do is you want to read those hazard statements on the labels. And here we can see they come in a variety of shapes and sizes. Let's look at those a little more. So the safer products, comparatively, are those that either have the word non-toxic on them or the circle with the letters AP in it. That AP circle comes from the Art and Creative Materials Institute. And what that says is it's been certified by a toxicologist to not be toxic under normal usage. So there's very few acute or chronic problems. And the word non-toxic essentially says the same thing. If you see that CL label, or the word health caution, or health label, which is a dumb way to point somebody towards an unhealthy thing, the CL stands for caution label. And what this indicates is that that same toxicology group evaluated this and says it does contain a toxic constituent. Usually a toxic metal, maybe a flammable solvent, something like that. So if you want to get the safer product, the AP product will be safer than the CL product. And that's a place to start. As I mentioned in the first module, there are limitations on our assessment of risk. So our assessment for risk is for a 25-year-old, 180-pound man. If you're very, very tiny, then what would be a safe dose for that guy may not be a safe dose for you. Not all hazards are chemical-based. Some things are sharp or can cause inhalation susceptibilities or sensitivities that may not be evaluated under these standards. Some people are really, really sensitive to a variety of different chemicals. One of my coworkers is incredibly sensitive to fragrances. Fragrances are not generally seen as being all that toxic to most people, but if you're sensitive to them, they can be very debilitating. The other problem, of course, is not all containers are labeled very well. In this case, we've got a container labeled spit bite. If you're a printer, you know that that's an acid. If you're a normal mortal, you probably have no clue about that, except it sounds kind of icky. So unless the label's well filled out or there's a label present, it's very tough to know what's inside those containers. Another thing to look for is the California Proposition 65 warning. So if you see really the word State of California on a label, or you see the number 65, this is an indication that this product's been evaluated by the state of California and has been found to cause cancer or birth defects or other reproductive harm if you're exposed to it potentially. And then we get into secondary containers. So in the photo here, we've got 3 containers. One appears to be empty, or maybe it's got a clear liquid in it, and the other 2 contain brownish liquids. What are they? Well, we can see that it looks like it's a painter's studio, so they're probably something that's used in painting. In this case, what we're looking at is linseed oil, turpenoid, which is a solvent-based thinner, and then turpenoid natural, which is a transparent solvent-based thinner. But you'd have no way of knowing that unless somebody actually put a label on that clear container. So if you're transferring products from the container that it came in into a secondary container, label that container. You want to put the name of the product that's in there and the main hazard. So if it's flammable, put flammable. If it's corrosive, put corrosive. If it says contains toxic materials, put the word toxic on there. And that provides a warning not only to you and a reminder of what it is, but to anybody else who comes into your studio to be safe around that product. The other problem we find in our program is that a lot of chemical products like cleaners look an awful lot like household food products. In this case, the Fabuloso cleaner bottle and color are almost identical to a Mountain Dew bottle. Same with Pine Sol and Old Orchard apple juice. This is a real risk if you're using these products in your art studio, and especially if you've got kids coming in or people who aren't very good at reading English. Only those art products that fall under the Art Labeling Act are required to have those little stickers on them. So you need to be really, really careful with things like Pine Sol and other products like that that look like they belong in your home, but you're using them essentially as an industrial product. Keep them secured, keep them up high where kids can't get at them, and if they're toxic, slap a piece of tape on there and write the word toxic in large letters on it just to make it abundantly clear exactly what it is. And try to restrict kids from getting into your studio. For more information about art chemical hazards, search either Google or YouTube for King County art hazards. If you have questions, send an email to me, Dave Waddell, at haz.waste@kingcounty.gov.